As I say, a little bit plasticky. So what I'm going to do is, instead of changing the settings, because it's done such a good job of getting rid of the grain, I'm just going to change the output mix and bring back a little bit of grain just to make it look like film, and then hit play, and you can see it rendering away, and that's taken out a good deal of that noise. Let's just make that compare with the original. So there's the original material, there's our new cleaned up material, and you can see that's gone a long way to making this a much more viewable, much more enjoyable film. So we'll leave that to render. Let's move on to the next thing. To jump to the next section, I'm going to show you one of the new features of Filmmaster 2009, bookmarks. So I've marked various places on the timeline to jump to different parts of the project. I'm going to go back to the restore package and look at a new filter again in this software. This is a shot. Let's show the original first of all. It's got a little bit of a color correction on it, but you can see in the top right hand corner here, there's quite a lot of sort of flickery noise going on. It's partly to do with the grain, it's partly to do with the fading of the film, and we really want to kind of stabilize the luminance in this area. And so a new tool to the DVO restore package is DVO flicker. Load that into my user effects area. And again, you'll see there's a few settings there, but the default is medium, and that usually gives me a pretty good look. On the right-hand side, you see the original. On the left-hand side, you see deflicker. And if I play that now, you can see how it does such a nice job of taking out that flicker effect in the background there. So that's before, and that's after. We would go on and add grain and dust removal. One thing I will show you, this has got some very strange marks up there in the sky. There we go. This is emulsion damage. You can see different colored flecks up in the sky. And I'm just going to turn on the dust tool again. So I don't want to go in and do manual fixes, but just to show you how powerful this dust tool is, I'm going to set the preset again to heavy and simply turn it on and watch it affect these areas in the sky. Instantly disappear. So you can see with a couple of clicks, I've been very, very successful at removing a large amount of the damage and the deflicker, and cleaning this up ready for a DVD release or new broadcast or whatever. Okay, let's have a look at some other tools in the area. If we come over to the DVO box here, you'll see we have dust, we have fix, we have flicker. We've looked at all of those. Next one down is printer line. So let's find something in my bookmarks with printer line problems in it. Choose printer line, go to, cues the system up for me. Let's just have a look through this. Okay, I see it right there. There's one frame which has this misalignment of the various emulsions. So you can see the red emulsion is pretty much in line with everything else, but the other emulsions have slipped, and we've got this strange sort of, looks like it should be a 3D movie or something, but it's just a printing error that we want to get rid of. And one of the clients had a huge library of material with whole clips looking like this, and Digital Vision came up with a fix for it. Again, load it into the user effects, and you can see it instantly realigns the three emulsions, gives us a good looking picture. But you may have noticed that the picture dropped down in the frame. So if I step forward now, that frame looks a lot better, but it also looks like it's been misplaced. And that's because by default, the printer line tool aligns to the green emulsion. And in this case, the green emulsion is one of the ones that slipped. So I'm going to go back and adjust it to map to the red emulsion. And you'll see now that as we step through, that we have a perfect moving sequence, all nicely lined up. That's a very, very useful tool. No other way to deal with that, so that's quite an important point. Next up on my restore menu, we have DVO scratch. So you saw me remove scratches with the fix brush earlier, but of course, if the scratch is very long on several frames, any of the tools that are designed to look for damage to a single frame are not going to work. And this particular clip is interesting. Comes from China actually, and there's some very, very deep scratches on it. If I just zoom up this part of the image, you'll see that this scratch is so deep that it's got a sort of a shadow either side of it. And this was a customer that came to Digital Vision having tried other solutions and finding that they didn't work. And here's why. This is a particularly difficult one to deal with. If I load the scratch filter, sure enough, it does get rid of the scratch. So as we would expect, it removes the continuous white line. But if you look closely, you'll see that it's left a shadow underneath. So although we've removed the worst of the scratch, it's left this shadow. And that was what they were finding with other packages. So they asked me to have a look at it with DVO scratch. And what I realized is that, of course, it's assuming that the scratch is positive. If the scratch was on a negative, it would take out the shadow, but not the white. And Digital Vision has the ability to do both simultaneously. And as soon as I do that, you can see it gets rid of that shadow and cleans up the image quite nicely. And that made this material, which is in very poor condition, fixable. And I'm going to load the dust and fix filter again and just have that rendering while we're looking at the other material. So I'm going to go back into DVO dust, again set it to heavy in this case, enable, and it will get rid of some of the noise there, and the rest of it I need to come back in and do with the DVO dust, DVO fix brush. I just wanted to do that because you can see how quickly with 2 clicks we've really gone from a very badly damaged frame to something which is already beginning to look usable. And I'll just mark that as an in point. So if I hit play now, you can see it's already rendered a large part of that, and I can see that I can just step in there and do a little bit of frame by frame touching. Okay, so that's the DVO package. We've looked at all of the tools in DVO. We've looked at steady already, dust, fix, flicker, align, and scratch. So some useful new additions to that. In the enhanced package, we have anti-alias, aperture, brick wall, grain and regrain that we looked at on the red material, and DVO sharpen. You may not be familiar with this new package though, DVO convert, and there's a couple of new features in here that are really interesting. Let's start with DVO upscale. So for this I want to find a shot that is standard definition. So I think we have one of those in here somewhere. Let's try it down my nose, SD. Here I have some SD material. Now of course I could go in with the pan and scan tool and simply manually zoom the frame up to fill the frame, and that would be effectively an upsizing. But Digital Vision have come up with a tool which is even higher quality than that and much easier to use, and that's the DVO convert upscale. So I select that in my box there, load it as a user effect, and you can see it immediately starts to resize the image for me. It has various fill settings, much like the project settings at the beginning of the Filmmaster job. And the options are to fill vertically, which is what we have now, or fill horizontally, which will resize it. If I do fill both, of course, it will change the aspect ratio as it did at the beginning. So we'll leave it at fill vertical. You can see it does a really good job. The main difference between this and the resize tool is that it's programmed to allow for edges. It does edge protection